CompTIA asked some fairly interesting questions for the A+, and one of them is the Internet Options Control Panel applet. Now, Internet Options is ostensibly for how you do stuff on the internet, but in reality, what it is mainly, more than anything else, is configuring the Internet Explorer web browser. Well, I don't know about you, I have nothing against Internet Explorer, but there's a lot of other options out there, and I personally don't use Internet Explorer that often. So with the understanding that Internet Explorer is the primary user of the Internet Options feature and control panel, let's go through Internet Options. In particular, we're going to cover some of the very specific objectives that are covered on the A+. So, to get to Internet Options, it's here in the control panel. Now in this particular example, I'm using Windows 8.1. You're going to notice that there are some variations in Internet Options between versions of Windows. Again, don't panic. I'm going to cover the stuff you need to know for the A+. And I'm also going to be skipping some things that are not terribly important. So, you'll notice when we open up Internet Options, it says Internet Properties, and we have a number of tabs going across the top. If I don't cover the tab, don't worry about it. First of all, Homepage, and this is the big one. When I open up my browser, what homepage do I want? Now mine's currently set to google.com, and you should know what it's set to, but if you ever open up a web browser and you're not on the homepage you want, this is the place you go to, at least for Internet Explorer. If you're using Chrome or somebody else, you're going to have to go into their settings to change this. So you can see that right now it's set to google.com, but if I wanted to, I could use default, which of course it's Internet Explorer, so they want me to go to some Microsoft site. Or I could also say use a new tab. Next is Startup. Notice that I can click Start with tabs from the last session. It'll literally remember every tab you had open, or just start with the home page. I like to start with the home page. Next is Browsing History. You can delete your browsing history on exit. So that means every time you close Internet Explorer, your browsing history is wiped. Now, some people like to clear their history, some don't, but what is important here is right here is where I would do my deletion of my browsing history at any given moment, and I can go through and pick exactly what I want to delete. Okay, next is going to be security. Security is absolutely, don't want to say absolutely, but almost completely obsolete, especially if you're in Windows 10 with Edge. It's got its own security stuff here, but this was within Internet Explorer a way to be able to control what sites do you trust, if somebody starts to download things, what type of controls, what type of little add-ons are being thrown in, and you could make some controls here. Privacy allows you to control what cookies are doing. It allows you to stop the system from bringing in cookies from other sites, little settings like that. But more importantly is down here is the pop-up blocker. And this is the one you want to know for A+. Turn on your pop-up blocker. So not only can you turn on a pop-up blocker, but more importantly, let's say you have one particular website that has pop-ups and you're like, okay, on this website, I want you to allow the pop-ups. And that's where you do it right here. You just type it in. That's not a real website, but this is where you can take care of that particular issue. Now, here's another little feature I like. And you can basically say block all pop-ups. So what's happening here is Microsoft kind of says, well, there are certain situations where we'll allow a pop-up. Putting that to high is going to stop them all. Next one is content. Here when we're talking about content, what they're saying is, what exactly do I want to see or not see? So there's a couple of settings here that are, in my opinion, somewhat obsolete. For example, family safety still kind of works, but it has some issues. Things like certificates, when you're using HTTPS, you have these certificates which come down, which are basically like keys that allow you to encrypt data. And these will allow you to inspect certificates and things like that. The big one here for the A+ is autocomplete. You can actually set up how autocomplete's going to work on your particular system. If you start to type something, it's going to try to fill that in for you. The next one's connections. Now, in most cases, when you open up a web browser, it's going to use the internet connection that you currently have. However, if you want to make some changes to it, this is where you could. So if I wanted to change it to a different type of connection or something strange like that, I could do this. Now, the big one down here is local area network settings or LAN settings. That has to do with something called proxy servers, and be sure to check I've got a whole episode just on proxy server. Check that one out to get all the details on that guy. Second to last is programs. Basically, when you're clicking on stuff within a web browser, it's going to be pulling down files, or it's going to be starting programs. It's going to be doing stuff. And here's where you can actually tell Internet Explorer what you want it to do. And the last one is Advanced. Now, Advanced has all kinds of crazy settings in there that are not covered on the A+, and to be honest with you, I almost never touch these personally. However, there's a great little bailout at the bottom. If you start tweaking your browser and you're having trouble getting things to go the way you want them to go, right there, all you have to do is hit Reset. Reset will set Internet Explorer back to basically factory defaults, and it's something that will get you out of trouble pretty much every time.